exactly here. I think the Japanese were right on not accepting Christianity because the ones that have, as far as like throughout history, have been fucked over pretty bad and lost a lot of themselves in the process. Lost some of the things they once owned. And I'll talk about three real quick, and I'll try to wrap up why the Japanese are so unique on that aspect. Um, Man, okay. First one I'm gonna say is Mexicans, real quick. Back before when the Europeans were going around traveling, getting trade routes, trading with with India and the Middle East and Africa, because they wanted like more, not just more of some things, but more of everything. They wanted silk from Asia. They wanted spices from Africa because, like, I believe Timbuktu has like the best salt mines. I mean, salt was like equated to gold. They were literally uh, rulers who would just sell salt to Europeans and Arab countries and things like that, and they were fucking like kings or whatever, king chiefs or whatever in Timbuktu, Africa, and other parts. There's ivory, of course, gold, jewels, all of that. So anyway, when they got to South America, with the Europeans traveling around, and when I say Europeans, I mean the French, the British, the German, the Swedish, the Spain. They traveled around. In some cases, they tried to take them by force and got their asses handed to them because they didn't know how these indigenous people fight, and they were caught by off guard. Especially if they go to some, Asian place. They go to Thailand and get their asses handed to them because they've never seen martial arts before. They're really fucked up. So they came up with the new way of just starting to trade off, not doing it by force. And like I said, I don't know who started doing this, but you start off with a mission, and you wanted to exchange an idea of religious thought and philosophy. And so what they did, like for the Mayans or whatever, the Aztecs, is like, hey, will you shut up for a second and listen to me? Hey, can you come over here? Hey, can you stop jumping up? Yes, I know you have a skull on your head and feathers. Can you just shut up for a second? If you don't listen to me, listen to me. If you don't listen to me, you're going to go to hell, or whatever hell you believe in. And you are not going to be safe. So you need to listen to me. You need to listen to me for spiritual guidance, because I know a person who can save your soul. Not what you believe in right now, because what you believe in is completely wrong. Completely. Look at you. You don't even know what you're doing here. So you listen to me and do what I say. Now, the men didn't believe that right away. And so another reason is because the men were too busy hunting, having wars, and out in the fields. Who did they work on? The women and the children. You work on that, you had dissension eventually, because the wife would convince the husband. There goes, and then multiple families, and then all of a sudden you've got civil distress. You've got people fighting within the same city. That's when you go into a military action, because there were military troops sent with missionaries to protect them. They said, "Oh, well, they're just here to protect if anything happens. If your enemies attack, we could do." But what they were doing is scouting out for resources, seeing their weaknesses, seeing where they had weak points, and they did. Like, they gave them, I think, like polio or some crap. Like, they gave the Aztecs, I believe, blankets with the earliest mention of polio, I believe, and just use chemical warfare and just kind of wipe them out. Just let them have, these blankets that missionaries gave them, or some trade thing, and just let them wrap themselves up into that and die. But here's the funny thing. The ones that were accepted, the ones who didn't want to rebel, that embrace the Spaniards, change their last name, change their philosophy, and this goes into modern day right now, because I, for the life of me, do not understand Mexican music, because it is a fiddle, I mean not a fiddle, a violin, a tuba, and an accordion. An accordion? A fucking accordion? Like, I hear Mexicans play that like it is like the brand new shit, like it is the most beautiful music in the world. There's nothing wrong with that, but they act like it's their indigenous music. When that sounds like, tubas, an accordion, and a freaking violin, like it's Bulgarian or freaking Austrian, German, maybe even Swedish. I don't know for sure, but tubas, stuff like that. And so they don't even know that they've been brainwashed to accept that music, to listen to that, to give up their money because they've been preached that way, and they're so devout Christians they don't even question anything. Give up your money for a meek and frugal existence. Give your money, and where does that money go? To the Vatican, where they have gold-plated, doorknobs. Because they took all the resources. Number 2, the Filipinos. My girl is Filipino. And I'll just do this real quickly with what she told a coworker at work maybe like 5 years ago. This is fucking great. So, she's working, and the guy was Mexican, so this kind of relates. He asked my girl, he goes, what is his name's Caesar. Funny for, yeah. His first name, real name is Caesar. And they were having lunch, and he asked her, and I wasn't there, she told me the story, why is your last name Mexican? She goes, what? Why is your name Mexican when you're Filipino? You're Asian. She goes, yeah, I'm Asian, but my last name is not Mexican. He goes, yes, it is. It's, well, I'm not going to give you my girl's real last name. I'll just say Ferdinand, And she goes, Ferdinand is not Mexican. It's European. He goes, what are you talking about? It's Spanish like mine. She goes, do you know your own history? She goes, and she just tore him a new one in front of all of these people. Oh, I wish I would have been there. It would have been fucking beautiful. Could have just sat there and just smiled like the Joker ear to ear. She said that the conquistadors, who are from Spain, who are white, came over and dominated your people, and they dominated the Philippines. They changed our last name. So your last name is not Mexican, it is Spanish, which is from Spain. Spain is not Mexican. You follow me? And another thing, too, is that the Philippines aren't even named for their indigenous name. They're named after King Philip. They even took their fucking names of their islands away. You know what I mean? And here's another thing that me and my girl vibe on, because she knows her shit, right? She said that the conquistadors, the Spaniards, dominated the Philippines for 400 years. That sounds kind of familiar, the 437. So we kind of have a shared past there, and we kind of even feel that angst that's right there. And he was just blown away. She goes, they took away our last name. They took away the name of our islands and our own language. So now we are basically Europeans. We pray to their gods, witches. And how did they start that? With freaking missionaries. And it's in the history books, Filipino history. But Filipinos are kind of blind to that too. They just think, oh, well, that's our last name. They don't really even think about it that much. The only thing they do is that they're devout Christians. They live a meek and frugal existence, and they send their money where? Back to the Vatican, where they have gold-plated, what else? Do they have gold-plated? I don't know. Bulletproof shield car, so they don't get assassinated. But it goes right back to Europe, to Italy. African Americans, real quickly. We were slaves. We had our own beliefs. But we did notice that the Caucasians, the Americans, always had this book that they pretty much served as some kind of importance. They didn't want us to read, period. But once we started to read secretly, on our own, mind you, and figure the shit out on our own, mind you, that we heard about the children of God. Slaves of Egypt being delivered. So we thought those people were us. We go, hey, we must be them. So that's why we take the book so seriously, and why we give our money and our belief 100% to the Catholic faith, is because we believe that in the Bible it was spoken about us, so that's us. That's it in a nutshell, but I'm out of time.